I'm so glad that you guys are here. With these producers club interviews, I say this all the time, so I hope I don't sound like a broken record, but a lot of times I'm wanting to interview those that I want to hear from. I want to see what got them in this business, what was the road to success, what does that look like for this person, and I always walk away inspired. I learn brand new things that I never thought I knew before, and things that they've done, and also too. Okay, look, this is a tough business that we're in. Hey, it's a tough world we live in, if you want to really look at it that way. And it's always good to hear from other people who have probably have struggled along the way, just like we have. We're not alone in this game. And so I have a special guest here today that I'm really excited about. Uh, we met towards the end of last year, and after a few conversations, he decided to join us at KW Palos Verdes, and I couldn't be more excited. I couldn't be even just happier that I see him closing deals and just doing well, and I love it. Love seeing it. So I want to introduce everybody to Lloyd Yang. Let's give him a round of applause in our own virtual way. How do you do this? You got to do the react. There we go. Here's my applause. All right, good to see you on here, Lloyd. Lloyd, before we get started to, I mean, and you're gonna probably introduce yourself a lot, but for the people that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and how you got into real estate.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. Appreciate being here. Thank you for having me. Um, so I'm married. I have two kids. My son's about to go into middle school. My daughter's about to go into TK. My wife, she's a chef, and she's currently building her own coffee business right now. So really excited about that. But Yeah, for myself, I was born in Korea. I moved to the States when I was 3, moved around in LA a lot, ultimately settled in Palos Verdes, went to school here. Um, and and yeah, my family actually they were in apparel manufacturing. We had a business and operated out of Vietnam, and we imported, exported um, women's apparel, and was fairly successful at it. Uh, I I, uh, I thought essentially that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I thought I was going to ultimately take over that business and be in the apparel industry. So I think in 2010, throughout the financial crisis, we ended up closing up shop. We couldn't continue. I segued into um, sales, which a lot of people, I think that's just starts from scratch. Sales is like kind of a popular industry to kind of get into. I ended up doing insurance sales. I was an insurance agent for 4 years, which actually, in hindsight, it helps me a lot as an agent today. I wrote home insurance policies, auto policies, but when I did home insurance policies, I actually had to go physically to these homes and I had to risk manage these homes. So I think over the course of 4 years, I probably went into like 200 different homes um, to look for, any type of risk exposure that wouldn't qualify them for home insurance. And that still sticks to me now. Like I can't help but go into every home and just start looking at risk factors. Like so, um, but yeah, but when I was doing insurance, I would always have these young engineering clients that would come in and they would be coming in to write their third or fourth home insurance because they were getting income properties and they're creating cash flow and basically just doing their hobbies now. Like they weren't even working full time anymore. And to me, I was like, that's what I want to do. Like whatever that was, like anything to do with real estate, that is what I wanted to do. And yeah, and I think that's kind of what led me to do real estate ultimately.
Well, believe it or not, we do have one of your former insurance clients, I think, on this call, which is what I discovered too as well was as you're getting ready for this. So Victor's on here and he's just telling me about your AAA days a little bit. Uh,
Hey, what's
and
up, Nick?
and it's so funny, Lloyd. I mean, you and I, we both started off in sales in doing the insurance sales business too. So we do definitely have that in common.
Hmm.
And by the way, as your wife is building her coffee business, I would love to be a taste tester if she ever needs one.
100%, 100%.
So, I mean, from that, you saw this lifestyle that clients were living and people were living. You wanted that, and then
Yeah,
how did that then just say, okay, real estate sales is it? Because I mean, within real estate, there are other ways to do it.
for sure.
Why real estate sales, or did that find you? Did you find that?
Yeah, so it actually ended up happening in a very unconventional way. Uh, my dad, after our business closed, he actually almost passed away because he had a really bad bout with pneumonia. But when he came out, like he was determined to do something. He bought like a rundown multifamily, which actually operated as a room and board. It was designated as a room and board, like a dormitory almost. Um, and I went to go visit him one day, and I just saw piles of mail, like past due notice, violations, final notices. And I'm like, what is all this? And I opened them up, and I saw like this home actually had tons of violations from LADBS. There was code violations. The housing department had violations for like, tenant issues. And I'm like looking at this, I'm like, Dad, we need to clear this up. Like, but I realized at that moment that he needed help, right? He was kind of weighing over his head. And at that moment, I'm like, I'm gonna help you. Let's clear this up together. Or otherwise you're gonna lose this property. It was about to go into REAP status, and REAP status is when the housing department takes over the property for not non-compliance. They create an escrow where the tenants pay only half of their rent to that escrow. So the landlord doesn't get paid anything. And that you do that until you clear up all the violations. What I've come to find out is a lot of landlords, sometimes they're not able to clear these violations and they lose their home this way, right? So we were able to clear all violations like within the next 3 months. So naturally, we got it profitable, and we're like, let's get more properties, right? And then I also met other investors that wanted to get more properties. And then naturally, I'm like, I'm going to get my license so I could handle all these transactions, right? So I did. And right after I got my license, I was kind of in a fortuitous position because I had like multiple deals just ready to go. Like I had 3 deals like my first month. Um, I know anything about contracts. I know anything. Like I just had deals ready to go, and I'm just, writing full cash offers and closing them in 2 weeks. But took on these homes that had a bunch of issues that needed a lot of upkeep and stuff. Um, so yeah, I mean that I did that for several years because 10 years ago, you almost couldn't go wrong with income properties, right? It's just, you're going to find a lot of upside potential on a lot of these homes. So,
Okay, so Lloyd, I want to point out something that you just said.
mhm.
You had three deals like ready to go. It was ready to, but you didn't know contracts. You didn't know how this stuff worked. You didn't know how an escrow worked. And what's interesting about that is, I meet a lot of newer agents. They just get their license. They're like, whoa, 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 I got to learn about what a contract is, how to fill that out. I can't talk to people. Oh, no, no, no. I can't do an open house. I can't meet with anybody. I got to know how to do all this stuff first. But and Lloyd, I love what you did. You're like, oh, but it's more about the opportunity, more about the people that you're meeting. So tell me about that. Like, how did you get past like, okay, I don't know this stuff, but I got to get these things closed.
Right. I feel in so many ways I did everything opposite of what new agents did, right? A lot of new
Yeah.
agents, they'll come in, they'll get their headshots, they'll go to a lot of classes, they'll
Yes.
learn the contracts, yet they're afraid to actually do a transaction because of the lack of confidence, right? For me, I was kind of just thrown into it with deals already presented to me. So I had no choice. I had to just, I just had to take them on and learn as I went. But that ended up being the best way to learn and the
Yeah.
fastest way to learn. It's just actual real life experience was the best way to do it. And sometimes you just gotta fake it till you make it, and I believe that. Everyone had to start somewhere, right? So, and I did have help with certain agents. I would reach out. I was with KW South Bay at that time. Um, and I would call in and I don't think I even had a TC at that time. Like I didn't go into any of the office meetings. I was just out and about on the field, like, working on these properties and try to get new deals.
Well, let's point out too, this is guys, this is pre-Chat GPT,
Mm,
pre all that stuff. But Lloyd, I love it. Sometimes learning how to swim by getting thrown in the pool is the best way to do it. And
absolutely.
I love that you're right. A lot of new agents saying, "Oh no, wait, I got to do this first. I got to do that first," but just jumping right into it. But look, undoubtedly though, I mean, you had these deals ready to go, but there's still some difficulties. There's always going to be some challenges. What was the hardest part about those earlier years in real estate?
Yeah, I think more than the early years, because I was a little spoiled by these, all cash, offers that
Yeah.
barely even did inspections, because they knew what they were getting themselves into. Um, I learned a lot during that time. But what the hardest time for me was, I think, was when I started having to transition into residential more. And that's because as income properties increased in value and the upside potentials wasn't quite as, plentiful. Um, I I realized that selling income property is easy. You find good deals, you present it to investors that you know, and the numbers speak for themselves, right? But when it comes to doing residential, you have to sell yourself, right? You have to sell yourself. You got to convince people that you don't know or people that you do know to use you as an agent. And at that point, I didn't have a system built. I didn't market myself. Um, I think one huge wake up moment for me was I saw a friend's post about him uh his new house that he purchased, right? And I sent him a congratulations on social media. It got us talking a little bit, and through that conversation, he found out I was a real estate agent, right? And he's like, oh man, if I knew you're a real estate agent, like I would have totally used you for this transaction. And that was like a punch in the gut for me because I knew that was 100% my fault, right? He didn't know because I wasn't putting myself out there. I wasn't having that conversation. Um, I was kind of very uh subconscious about like I didn't want to come off like salesy to my friends and family. Um, so at that moment, I'm like, really, what am I doing here? Right? Like, if I'm not letting everybody around me know what I do, and at this point, I was confident in my ability to execute and complete my transactions, in a very efficient manner, successful manner. But I was really lacking on the other side of real estate, which is market yourself, put yourself out there, put in the system to generate more clients ultimately.
So do you think there is a way to build a business with your close friends, family, or just even make that uh, connection in real estate without being salesy, without being pushy? Like how does an agent do something like that?
I think for me, one plus side for me is because I started in multifamily, I started in income property. I always approach all real estate, even residential real estate, as almost as an investment, right? Because it is still, even if it's a primary home, it's one of your best investments that you could possibly make, right? So I always kind of approach things with that angle that, ultimately how what I'm helping you accomplish and purchase, which is one of the biggest transactions of your life, is ultimately going to be a great business investment as well. And when I come off on that uh at with that angle, I feel like it's not salesy. It's you're trying to look after the best interest of
Yeah.
those around you, right? Um, and it was genuine too. It was genuine. I always had immense gratitude for every opportunity I had, every transaction, because I realized the importance of every transaction for my clients, right? And I didn't take that lightly. And I think that
Yeah.
showed in how I carried myself.
Well, Lloyd, this the sales business is filled with being disciplined, having strong habits. What were some of those disciplines that really made a big difference for you in your business?
Um, I think it's so much of it has to do with like your attitude, your mentality, mental fortitude, like we're essentially this is our business, right? And you have to approach it like you are creating your own business. Um, if you opened up a coffee shop, for example, would you take a month vacation, your first year of opening up your shop? Like, I mean, I don't think you could afford that, right?
Yeah.
But there are, as a business owner, there are, especially like your first few years, I think there are certain levels of sacrifice that you need to make for the sake of your business until you create consistency, until you
Yeah.
create a funnel of business, until you establish the system where you could have consistency, right? And that was one of the other mistakes I made. Early on, I'd close a deal and I'd go on vacation and I'd kill my momentum. And real estate, you have to be all in, right? You have to be all in it. Um, so I think it's the attitude. You have to take it that with that level of seriousness.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, we hear a lot of agents say that they are in this business for freedom, but Gary Keller says freedom is earned.
Mhm.
You just don't get it and enjoy it. You got to earn it too. So I
Yeah.
like what you said about that. Well, how about look with the dark side of sales? I mean, money is not always coming in. No one's writing you a check every a couple weeks. Was there a
Yeah.
time that you thought, okay, is this really the right thing for me? Like, should I be quitting? Should I move on to something else? If so, like, what got you through that?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. Like I've had some tough years, for sure. But I think there was this one year that was really hard to overcome. And every month it seemed like a deal was gonna happen, and then it didn't happen. Like, I'm sure there's so many times where agents have been working with certain clients, and it seems like something's gonna happen and materialize. And it doesn't after like months of putting your time and effort with your clients, right? And I had that, but for whatever reason, this particular year, every single opportunity just did not manifest into an actual sale. Um, so what I did is I actually used, what my experience was. I started I started doing property management, right? Um, there's this one agent that got a offer to do property management on a commercial strip mall. they didn't want to do that. So they asked me if I wanted to do it. And I was like, yeah, I would. But they weren't, it's not going to pay a lot. I was just kind of helping. It was kind of a mess there. It took up a lot of my time initially. Um, and and the first few months I went in there, I just cleaned up a lot of the mess, created a system there. And didn't get paid a lot, but like fast forward 3 years later, we're now talking about listing this strip mall.
Wow.
And that, could be a $10 million deal. And 1031 exchange after that as well, right? So I feel like, I don't oppose like agents having to do what they have to do sometimes to survive, right? But I feel like I'm a strong believer in doing like supplemental work that that um that can help your real estate business, that help you as an agent as in real estate. I'm also a licensed general contractor, and I got that while we're doing multifamilies, and that helps out a lot. Gain business. I do landlord consulting work as well because of all my experience clearing violations. And I find that there's a lot of landlords, like currently right now, I'm helping a widow where her husband was the one that really handled all the real estate. He passed away, and now she doesn't know what to do. And this home has a bunch of violations that she doesn't really know how to clear. So I realized there's a need for that. But she's like, as soon as you clear this, I want you to list this property as well. So I mean, I don't hate what you got to do to
Yeah,
put food on the table, but I feel like if you're going to do something completely opposite outside the scope of real estate on the side, it's not going to complement each other, right?
sure.
But the other side stuff that I do, it it puts me in front of new clients. It gives me opportunity, and it just helps me learn a lot more about just real estate industry as a whole.
Well, because of you, Lloyd, now I feel like I need to start learning how to clear code violations. Oh
No,
man,
you
I
got
never thought
me. We're
about
all
that.
good.
Oh yeah, or I can revert it. I never thought about that as a skill. I mean, think about it. Who thinks about that as, this might be something good to know. You wanna,
Yeah.
if you work with a business, commercial property or residential properties, looking at code
Mhm.
violations like, hey, this drywall, like who put this back here? Who made this room back here? This is a
Yeah.
code vi. Look at the electrical. Look at all this stuff. Wow, like that's got to be a pretty good skill when it comes to inspections, right?
We've seen some crazy, crazy homes. I mean, I've seen single families that had 24 rooms, non-permitted, all filled with people, like we've seen some crazy stuff, right? So, and there's a lot of them out there, especially
Yeah,
in Los Angeles, right? So,
yeah,
I
yeah.
have stories. I have stories.
No, no, for sure. I mean, they turned a four-bedroom to an eight-bedroom. Like, ta-da! Here we
Yeah.
go. Uh, well, Lloyd, I mean, for the agents that are watching this, I mean, there's some agents that are new in the business that have been in the business for a long time. And look, we do get stuck. We feel, what do we do next? It's an interesting market too, with things going on in the world, with gas prices, interest rates, all this stuff. I mean, what
Yeah.
do you want them to hear? What would be the message that you would want them to hear from your story?
Um, yeah, no doubt. It's a tough business, right? It's not for everybody. I don't feel. But with that said, I feel like it's really important to understand your strengths and weaknesses, right? And to lean really into your strengths, right? I have someone that's starting, I know someone, a friend of mine that's starting in real estate. And she is amazing with people. She has a huge group of a social network, right? But her confidence is not there because she doesn't have the experience, she doesn't know contracts. But, I told her I would change, my skill set with yours any day, right? I could know the RPA front and back, and not how to have any people skills whatsoever,
Right.
right? If you focus on your strengths, right? Because everybody matches differently with a different agent, right? Not everyone's going to fit well with me, right? But if you focus on on your strengths, right? Um, you develop a system, right? You stay diligent with that. You gotta trust the process, I feel like. And it takes time sometimes. You know, that year when I had no business, I that was also the time I was trying to get into commercial real estate as well. And but that was also the time that I started doing marketing, and then the marketing wasn't immediately, working. I wasn't immediately getting an ROI on any of that, right? Um, but the following year, I had my best year ever. I closed two commercial transactions, um, and also taking opportunity where it comes, right? Keep your door open. Don't close your door. Don't say, this isn't worth my time, because a lot of times I've decided to help somebody, or just lend my time, or take on something that didn't seem like it was going to be worth my time initially. It actually ended up, with me gaining business through that, or meeting somebody that, led to meeting someone that gave me business. And for example, that strip mall, I have my sign up right at the front of the building, for the empty leases in the building. I have my sign up. It's right on the strip mall's right on Olympic and Irolo, and there's so much traffic that
Yeah.
goes through there. And I just have this sign up, and I can. I'm the property manager there, right? And it's like free marketing for me, Like I
Yeah.
have friends that take pictures of it, and like, hey, like I saw your, for lease sign, and I'm like, I don't get paid a lot for that, but the benefits that I gained
Sure.
for taking that opportunity, is coming back to me, right? So I'm a strong believer on touching as much that you can, gain as much experience as you can. All of that is going to make you a better agent at the end of the day.
Awesome. Lloyd, last question. What made KWPV the place for you at this point in your business? By the way, I'm so glad you're with us.
Yeah, it was you, Richard. I mean, honestly, like, I think our meeting was again, like I said, don't close doors, right? So for me, I'm like, okay, let's have this conversation. Let's see, what it would what you have to say, right?
Yeah.
To come back to KW, because like I said, I was originally at KW South Bay for like a year, my first year of being an agent, and I've been an agent for a little over 11 years now. Um, but yeah, although like my last brokerage was great, I had a very small split, with my broker. And for me, I was thinking like the bottom line was the most important at the end of the day. But as I invest more into my marketing, as I invest more into my branding, I realize, the brand is important and the
Yeah.
support is important. And KW had that, and also the community, right? And KW has, obviously, its presence in real residential, but also in commercial
Yeah.
space. And not a lot of brokerages have both like evenly, right? So that was actually a huge selling point for me. And I was like, at this point now, I need to invest more into my brand. I need to care more about the the system. I'm huge on, for the new agents, like I'm huge on like building your team, right? You got to build your team of all-stars, and um like have an all-star TC, have an all-star lender at your disposal. I have a lender that funds in 15, 21 days, like if you gotta build up your team as,
Yeah.
to win really at the end of the day.
Love that. And so, Lloyd, that was awesome. And remember, everybody on this call, referrals are big. I think it's a big part of the business. Someone calls you with the 15 unit strip mall, or oh, 15 is kind of a lot, but whatever, with the strip mall referral. we have referral partners here at KW that can help with that. So reach out to Lloyd for any of that kind of business or some guidance. Lloyd always comes from contribution. So he's always willing to help, and we're just so glad that he's here. Definitely very inspiring. I walked away with learning a couple things. They got to read those code violation books now. But love it, Lloyd. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, I'm always here to help. Please reach out if, anybody has any questions at all. I'm all about giving back as much as possible. So, yeah, thanks for having me, Richard. Appreciate it.
Thank
Awesome. Thank
you.
you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks everyone else for joining. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys.